Hello aspirants, welcome back to our next lecture of Insights Daily Quiz Series. So without any delay, let's get started. Here is our first question of this session, which is the Kaleshwaram lift irrigation project is on which of the following river? So this is the basic question on basis of current affairs. So it is on Godavari River. The Kaleshwaram lift irrigation project is a multi-purpose irrigation project on Godavari River in Telangana. So it is the world's largest multi-stage lift irrigation project. Its farthest upstream influence is at the confluence of Pranahita and Godavari rivers. Now what does this mean? It is nothing but from the point where Pranahita meets Godavari. This is Godavari River, which is eventually forms delta while draining into Bay of Bengal. So this is Pranahita River. From this point, the water is lifted back to the upstreams. Fine. So that is what this statement reflects. And Pranahita River itself, a confluence of various small tributaries like Varda, Painganga, Vainganga rivers. We already created a separate playlist for peninsular drainage system in which we cover complete drainage system of peninsular India, Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, its tributaries and their sub-tributaries, and also the projects built upon those rivers. So kindly watch those videos to enrich your content. Now moving on, our next topic is Arctic Council. Arctic Council is a high-level intergovernmental forum that addresses issues faced by Arctic governments and indigenous people of the Arctic. So it is not a treaty-based international legal entity like UN bodies, military or regional groupings like WTO, World Trade Organization, or Asian groups. It is only an intergovernmental forum to promote cooperation in regulating the activities in the Arctic region. So it is 1996 Ottawa Declaration which led to the establishment of this Arctic Council. The main purpose is to promote cooperation, coordination, and interaction among the Arctic states. This council has both permanent members and also the observer states. The permanent membership is limited to only those states which has the territory in the Arctic. Fine. So overall, there are 8 permanent members in the Arctic Council. Now, easy trick to remember them or just remember this Finland. Fine. So Finland is also a part of or the member of Arctic Council. So F for Finland, I for Iceland, N for Norway. So these all are Scandinavian countries. D for Denmark, S for Sweden. Fine, here we got 5 countries. So apart from this, USA, Canada, and Russia. So overall, 8 permanent members of Arctic Council. And all decision-making processes happens in consultation with these permanent participants. Observer status is open to non-Arctic states, but they don't have any voting rights. And they are also not a part of decision-making process. After setting up India's first permanent station in Antarctica in 1983, so it gave India a 3-decadal experience to set up a polar research station in Arctic at Himadri Research Station at Arctic region. India is also given an observation status in 2013 along with China, Italy, Japan, South Korea, and Singapore. Arctic Council does not prohibit the commercial exploitation of resources. Rather, it only seeks to ensure that it should be done in a sustainable manner without harming the interests of local population and environment. Here comes our next question. Consider the following statements regarding Arctic Council. The Arctic Council is a treaty-based intergovernmental forum that addresses issues faced by Arctic governments and indigenous people of the Arctic. Everything is right except this thing. It is not a treaty-based intergovernmental forum. So from this, we can eliminate statement 1. So option A, B, and D is eliminated. So our answer will be option C. So what statement 2 says, Ottawa Declaration established the Arctic Council as a forum of promoting cooperation, coordination, and interaction among the Arctic states. Yes, this is right. Only states with territory in Arctic can be the members of Council. Yes, this is also right. So statement 2 and 3 are right. So hence our answer is option C. Our next question is, consider the following statements and we are supposed to identify the incorrect statements. India is the only country to set up a permanent station in the Arctic at Himadri. India's location is at Himadri for the purpose of scientific research. No, India is not the only country to set up the permanent station in the Arctic. So this is incorrect. The second statement says that India was first granted the observer status in Arctic Council in 1991. No, it was in 2013. Fine. So even statement 2 is incorrect. So from this we can eliminate option B and option C, right? So even option D can also be eliminated because it doesn't have the statement 1, which is incorrect. So obviously our answer is option E. And this is the additional point to our content, which says that the observer status is granted to the entities that can support the objectives of Arctic Council and also has the ability to make financial contributions. Fine. So let's move on to our next topic. Our next concept is about electroskin, which is made up of skin. So researchers have developed this electroskin soft robot which can stretchable and which could crawl up walls across ceiling to clean them, and for environmental monitoring and deployment in hazardous environments. So this electroskin is a new fundamental building block for the next generation soft robot. They can be easily transported, deployed, and even worn. It has the combination of elliptical artificial muscles and electrical gripping, which replicates the movement of animals like snails. Consider the following statements regarding electroskin. Electroskin is a robot made from the skin. Yes, this is right. Electroskin is an important step towards soft robots that can easily transported, deployed, and even worn. Yes, this is also right. While traditional robots are rigid and incompliant, whereas soft robots are compliant and can stretch and twist to adapt to their environments. Yes, all these statements are true. Hence, our answer is option D, as the question is about correct statements. Our next topic is instrument in support of trade exchange. INSTEX is a European special purpose vehicle to make transactions with Iran. As we discussed in our previous session that United States of America is imposing sanctions on the countries which were making deal with Iran and Russia. To avoid this, European Union has come up with this technology called INSTEX. This machine facilitates non-US dollars, non-SWIFT transactions so that European Union can avoid breaking US sanctions. 5 European Union nations declared a joint statement that they are joining this INSTEX mechanism for trade with Iran. So those are Denmark, Finland, Netherlands, Sweden, Belgium. Consider the following statements regarding the instrument in support of trade exchanges, INSTEX. We are supposed to identify the correct statements. The instrument in support of trade exchanges is a new Chinese payment mechanism. No, this is false. Its mission is to facilitate non-USD and non-SWIFT transaction. Yes, this is right. Hence, our answer is option B. Our next concept is about a dilemma between absolute liability and strict liability. So it is in the news because of the recent Visakhapatnam's gas tragedy, which is because of LG polymers. So the main difference between the strict liability principle and the absolute liability is a company under strict liability principle is not liable and need not pay compensation if any hazardous substance escapes his premises of the company by accident or by an act of God. Whereas under absolute liability, a company in a hazardous industry cannot claim any exception. It has to pay compensation whether or not the disaster was caused by its negligence. If any harm results on account of such activity, the enterprise must be absolutely liable to compensate for such harm. This principle of absolute liability is a part of Article 21, Right to Life. So this is the direct question from our discussion. The principle of absolute liability is a part of Article 21, Right to Life. Our next topic is about India Renewable Energy Development Agency Limited. So it is a mini Ratna company under the administrative control of Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. It is registered as a NBFC, non-banking financial company with Reserve Bank of India. And its motto is Energy Forever. And the main function of this agency is to promote, develop, and to extend financial assistance for setting up the projects related to a new and renewable energy sources of energy. Union government has appointed this agency as an implementing agency for setting up the solar power plants by central public sector undertakings. Consider the following statements regarding Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency Limited. Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency Limited is a Maharatna company. As we have discussed, it's a mini Ratna company. So statement 1 is wrong. The question is about correct statements. So if we eliminate statement 1, our answer is we can eliminate option A, C, and D, and our answer becomes option B. It is registered as a banking financial company with Reserve Bank of India. Yes, statement 2 is right. It is the implementing agency for setting up solar power plants by central public sector undertakings. Yes, this is also right. So our answer is option B. Our next topic is about International Seabed Authority, ISA. So this International Seabed Authority is an autonomous international organization. It is established under United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea. Its main motto is to protect the marine environment from harmful effects that may arise from deep seabed mining or any deep seabed related activities. Its headquarters is located in Kingston, Jamaica, and it also attained the observer status to the United Nations. And India is also a member of this International Seabed Authority. Consider the following statements regarding International Seabed Authority. We are supposed to find out the correct statements. The International Seabed Authority is an autonomous international organization established under 1982 United Nations Conventions on the Law of Sea. Yes, this is right. International Seabed Authority has observer status to the United Nations. Yes, India is definitely a member of International Seabed Authority. So our answer is option A, Temasek-like model. So this is a successful case study which is experienced by Singapore in its Temasek Holdings company. So it is about disinvestment. So this model is backed by Economic Survey 2019-20. According to this model, disinvestment of government stake, like recently government is performing disinvestment of several public sector enterprises. So this model says that if you disinvestment a public company, then eventually it will increase the efficiency and profitability of that company. Besides, it releases the unlocking capital, which previously we used to invest in that company. That capital will be released or unlocked. Now that capital we can utilize for building public infrastructure. So this is called Singapore's Temasek-like model. Here comes the direct question which says that Singapore's Temasek-like model recently in the news is related to disinvestment program. Our next topic is about Alliance of Small Island States. So this alliance is nothing but a group of 44 small island and low-lying coastal developing states. The main motto of this alliance is to amplify the marginalized voices and to stress on the global commitments to cut greenhouse gas emissions, among other achievements. To achieve the same, it will make partnership with organizations such as United Nations Development Programme and European Commission. They also make vital contributions by helping the members to pool their resources and amplify their collective voice in the climate talks. Consider the following statements regarding Alliance of Small Island States. Alliance of Small Island States is an intergovernmental organization of low-lying coastal and small island countries. Yes, statement 1 is right. From this, we can eliminate option C. The main purpose of this alliance is to consolidate the voices of small island developing states to address global warming. Yes, statement 2 is right. So from that, we can eliminate option B. And this organization partners with United Nations Development Programme to effectively influence climate negotiations. Yes, this is also right. So all statements are correct. So from this, our answer is option B. So here is one of the important concepts regarding economy, which is partial credit guarantee scheme. So what is this about? Let us suppose there is a housing finance company which is under debts. Now it won't credit or it won't capital to perform its functions and also clear out those debts, for which it will issue bonds. But because of its status, these bonds won't attract much investors. So what government does? Government will push the banks. You banks go and buy these bonds. Fine. So now, if individuals are not invested in investing these bonds, how come the banks are interested? This is because of this partial credit guarantee scheme, according to which the government says that if under any circumstances this housing finance company defaults your bond interest or the principal amount, in that case, the government will give you a guarantee up to 20% of that first loss. This is a kind of bond insurance. And one condition is that the NBFCs, microfinancial institutions, housing finance companies, which has or which are having credit rating of AA are only eligible to this scheme. Fine. So now let's solve the question on the same. Recently, government announced Partial Credit Guarantee Scheme 2.0. It covers, yes, NBFCs, microfinance institutions, and housing finance company. Answer is option C. So our next concept is about recently announced scheme by the finance minister is EASE 3.0 for tech-enabled banking to change the customer's experience at public sector banks. So E stands for Enhanced Access and Service Excellence 3.0. It includes palm banking, which leads to end-to-end digital delivery of financial services. Apart from that, banking on go through East banking outlets at frequently visited spots like malls, stations, complexes, and campuses. This is the direct question. East 3.0 is launched in India is related to tech-enabled banking. Our next concept is about equalization tax. So presently it is 6%, but before that, let us know what exactly this equalization tax is about. So this is the tax on the advertising revenue received by the overseas companies like Google, Facebook, and Netflix. Fine. But what has been observed recently is this tax is eventually burdening the local startups because it is these local startups who actually pay for these advertisements for the marketing strategies. Because of this, the government is looking forward to make changes in this equalization tax so that the burden on these local startups will reduce. Equalization tax, sometimes seen in the news, is related to tax on digital transactions. Our next concept is hydrogen fuel cell. Recently, Supreme Court had asked the government to look into the feasibility of hydrogen-based tech to deal with the vehicular air pollution in capital. So fuel cells combines hydrogen and oxygen to generate an electric current, which used to run the electric vehicles. And water will be the only byproduct. So in brief, it will convert chemical energy into electrical energy. However, unlike a battery electricity vehicle, this fuel-based cell or fuel-based vehicle cannot store energy. Instead, they require a constant supply of fuel and oxygen. However, fuel cells have strong advantages over conventional combustion-based technologies as they produce much smaller quantities of greenhouse gases and they won't produce any air pollutants that cause health problems. And if pure hydrogen is used, fuel cells emit only heat and water as a byproduct. And such cells are more energy efficient than traditional combustion technologies. Consider the following statements regarding hydrogen fuel cell and we are supposed to identify the correct statements. Fuel cell electric vehicles uses hydrogen and an oxidant to create electricity by an electrochemical process. Yes, this is right. Like a battery electricity vehicle, fuel cell electric vehicles can also store energy. No, it requires constant supply of fuel and oxygen. So from this, we can eliminate option A, option C, and option D. And our answer is option B. Hydrogen fuel cells produce much smaller quantities of greenhouse gases. Yes, this is true. Our next concept is about leverage ratio. Leverage ratio is defined as the capital measure divided by exposure measure. Fine. So this capital measure includes Tier 1 capital. This capital includes those assets which can be easily liquidated if a bank needs capital in the event of financial crisis. Fine. So overall, what it reflects is it reflects the financial health of the bank by saying the potential of the bank to withhold or withstand the negative shocks in its balance sheet. Consider the following statements regarding leverage ratio for the banks. The leverage ratio measures a bank's core capital to its assets. Yes, this is right. An increase in the leverage ratio for banks helps them boost their lending activities. How come? See, let's suppose RBI increase the leverage ratio. Fine. This demands banks to lock certain capital to deal with unforeseen circumstances. So locking of this capital will reduces its lending activities or lending capability, which is contrary to what is given. An increase in the leverage ratio for banks help them to boost their lending activities. No, it will discourage their lending activities. So from this, we can conclude that only statement A is right. Our answer is option A. With this, let us conclude today's session and let's continue the same in our next session. If you like this video, if you find this video useful, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you. Have a nice day.